Good morning and welcome to a new week, and this is Economy and Market on BDTV. We're starting off with the business news that have been making the rounds. So we start with the update from the stock market. Last week we saw the market capitalization of the NGX hit 83.2 trillion naira, as we've seen mid-cap stocks, as we've been seeing over the last few weeks, shining. On Friday, July 18, the market closed with a 1% gain, rising by over 1,300 points to hit a new all-share index of 133,585 points. Bullish sentiment drove the market, with daily trading volume spiking to 3.3 billion shares from 1.19 billion shares on Thursday. Market capitalization crossed 83 trillion for the first time, settling at 83.2 trillion naira. Among the top gainers, we saw Lane Africa, we saw NCR and UPDC leading the gainers. Then on the losing side, we see Red Star Express and Union Deconsult among the top losers. They declined by 9.97 and 9.62%. FCMB and Fidelity Bank dominated trading volumes with 1.3 billion shares and 1.1 billion shares. The all-share index has firmed above 131,000, has been driven by some select stock. It is assumed that if with this investor sentiment stays upbeat, the index could hit 135,000 in the near term. Year-to-date performance stands at 27.8%. Then we're moving on to the money market, as we saw that mutual funds have attracted 1.99 trillion naira in the first half of 2025. The Nigerian mutual fund industry saw robust growth in H1 2025, attracting 1.99 trillion naira in net inflows. According to SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the industry's net asset value surged from 3.98 trillion to 5.98 trillion naira, which represents a 50% growth. Money market funds led this growth in the mutual fund industry, expanding from 1.68 trillion to 3.14 trillion. Then we saw dollar funds, real estate investment trust, equity-based, balanced and fixed income funds also recording growth. Then specialized funds such as clean energy and gender-focused funds rose from 3.7 billion to 17.63 billion during the period under review. The growth basically underscores Nigerian investors' trust in mutual funds for wealth preservation and moderate growth. We move on to the deal that we saw happen last week. The Attorney General of the Federation has clarified that the RC Investment Manager is part of the First Holdco and CBN trustees for the shares deal. The federal government denied its involvement in the acquisition of 25% of First Holdco PLC shares by RC Investment Management Limited. This is according to a release by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, dismissing reports suggesting that the government participated in the transaction. First Holdco also stated that its chairman, Femi Otedola, was not involved. RC Investment Management is probably a special purpose vehicle in a trustee arrangement set up by First Holdco with the CBN. The CBN approved Stanbic IBTC to oversee the trustee as a third party. The sellers of the shares were Barbican Capital Limited and its affiliate, as well as Leadway Group and its affiliate. According to findings by Business, the RC Investment Management is associated with Samuel Sule, who is the CEO of Renaissance Capital Africa. The CBN brokered this deal to resolve First Holdco's leadership crisis. RC Investment's role as a trustee will involve holding the shares in custody for other investors, which is a common practice in such arrangements. Then moving on to the confidence index, as we saw industry rise. Industry is leading as confidence in economy rises to 20.7 index point. Confidence in Nigeria's economy strengthened in June 2025, with the overall confidence index rising to 20.7 index points from 18.7 in May. The Central Bank of Nigeria's Business Expectations Survey revealed rising optimism among businesses about macroeconomic prospects, particularly in industry-driven activity. The industry sector led the surge with the highest confidence at 23.1 index points. All sectors reported a positive outlook driven by expectations of higher business activity volumes. The confidence index is projected to rise to 41.3 index points over the next 6 months. Businesses flagged high interest rate insecurity and insufficient power supply as some of their top constraints. Despite this, firms expect activities to pick up with indications of increased hiring in July 2025. average capacity utilization dipped slightly to 58.2% in June. Then we move on to Augusto & Co. upgrading Odua's group credit rating from A+ to AA-. Odua Investment Company Limited is owned by the 6 southwest states of Nigeria, and they announced that Augusto & Co. has upgraded their credit rating from an A+ to an AA- with a stable outlook. This upgrade reflects improved operating income and cash flow driven by higher dividends, investment returns, and stronger rental earnings. The rating acknowledges Odua's strategic repositioning, including divestments from underperforming assets and reinvestment in high-yielding portfolios. Odua Group Chairman Bimbo Ashiru highlighted that the company's commitment to prudent financial management and sustainable value creation. Augusto & Co. noted that underperforming legacy assets and macroeconomic challenges like inflation and high energy costs are potential risk for the company. But however, the company remains confident that the strengthened capital base and strategic investment will sustain a positive financial trajectory and enhance contribution to the Southwest region's economic development. Then finally, we are seeing that NVIDIA CEO has sold some of his shares. That's Jensen Huang sold some of the shares in NVIDIA. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang sold about 75,000 shares valued at approximately $12.94 million. This is according to a new SEC filing. The sale is part of a plan adopted in March for Huang to sell up to 6 million shares of the leading AI company. Earlier this week, he sold 225,000 shares, totaling about $37 million. NVIDIA announced plans to resume sales of its H20 chips to China, H20 chips to China soon, following signals from the Trump administration that export licenses would be approved. Surging demand for AI has boosted Huang's net worth and pushed NVIDIA's market capitalization above $4 trillion, making it the world's most valuable company. Huang wants to sell chips more advanced than the H20 to China at some point. After the break, we return with market rundown from last week Wednesday. Stay with us. Welcome back to Economy and Markets, and we are going straight into the market snapshot from last week Friday. On Friday, the NGX all-share index surged by over 1,300 points, 1,301.79 points, closing at a new all-share index of 131,585.66 points, representing a 1% gain, bringing the overall year-to-date returns to a robust 27.84%. We saw market capitalization go up to 83.241 trillion naira. In terms of volume traded, we saw 3.35 billion shares traded, valued at about 62.39 billion naira. Last week, we recorded over 500 billion naira in trades during the week, the highest ever seen on the NGX. Then we move on to the top gainers and losers. We see setting the pace on Friday was NTR, the telecoms company, gaining 10%. Len Africa, the publishing company, gaining 10%, and UPDC also gaining 10% to hit a share price of 484 kobo. Then Boa Cement, another large cap company, gained 9.98% to hit a share price of 123 naira. Ella Lakes, after some few days of being down, went back up 9.98% to hit a share price of 10 naira 80 kobo. And amongst our losers on the flip side, we saw Red Star Express down 9.97%, close at a share price of 12 naira 92 kobo. Union Decon 9.62% decline to close at a share price of 10 naira 80 kobo. Academy Press down 6.67% to close at a share price of 7 naira. Then Sterling Bank, Sterling Holdco down 4.34% to close at a share price of 6 naira 17 kobo. Then we see First Holdco, First Bank, basically after days of rallying over 21% gain between Wednesday and Thursday, went down by 4.10% to close at a share price of 33 naira 95 kobo. Amongst our most actively traded stocks, FCMB Group led trading with 1.31 billion shares valued at about 12.63 billion naira. They were followed by Fidelity Bank that saw 1.15 billion shares in trading value of about 23 billion naira. Then we also saw a lot of action on Access Holdings, 113.8 million shares in deals worth about 3.07 billion naira. Chams Holdco 92.621 million shares in and a trading value of about 293.87 million naira. Zenith Bank also saw significant trading action, 50.7 million shares in deals worth about 3.622 billion naira. In terms of the weekly market cap, last week from Monday to Friday, we saw the NGX climb by over 5,000 points. The Osho Index gained 5,436 points, representing a 4.31 weekly gain as the market hit a new all-time high. And in terms of our weekly performers, Unicel was part of them. Unicel gained 32.6% during the week. Boa Cement also gained 31.3%, rallied by over 30%. ABC Transport, Associated Bus Company, rallied by 28.4% during that week. And we also saw industrial and medical gases accelerate by 24.9% during the week. Secure Electronic Technology rallied by 21% that week. And amongst our big weekly losers, we saw Academy Press leading the race. It lost over 24%, almost a quarter of its value last week. RT Briscoe down 22.7%. The same thing, Curtix down 19.6%, almost about 20% of its value. Caverton was also down by 19.3%. And Champion Breweries, after weeks of rallying, we saw quite a bit of profit taking on Champion Breweries last week as it closed at 17.5%. Then when we look at the sectoral highlights, we saw that there was a remarkable 19% gain surge in the industrial goods sector, especially boosted by Boa Cement. Basically, it signals a renewed confidence in some of Nigeria's growth sector. Over the week, we saw the banking sector up by 5.3%, insurance down by 3.65%, consumer goods slightly up by 1.34%. However, oil and gas down by 0.76%, and industrial goods soared by over 19%. Basically, mixed signals from the oil and gas and the insurance sector, coupled with some global headwinds we are seeing, calls for caution. And on the global side, the US Dow Jones Index slipped by 0.32%. The S&P stayed flat, closed around 0.01% on Friday, and Nasdaq also went up by 0.05%. So there was a lot of flat movement in the US market. In Asia, Nikkei 225 went down 0.21%, Kospi down 0.13%. However, Hang Seng rallied by 1.33%, and in Europe we saw modest gains as the FTSE was also up by 0.22%. There was flat closing in France as the CAC 40 went up 0.01% and the DAX index down 0.33%. On the currency side, we've not seen quite a bit of action on the currency. Although currency pressure still exists, the Naira is strong enough to withstand some of those pressures. The Naira closed at 1,532 against the dollar in the official market. In the euros, it closed at 1,781 naira to the euros, and in the UK side, 2,054 naira to the British pounds. And after the break, we return with a conversation on sustainable financing. And in the studio, I have Wade Aimi. After the break, we'll meet him.